1975. Since that date, thousands of ships have undergone the magical transition from the silent and unmanned vessel, which you now see before you, to a fully manned warship and fully alive. The world's finest commissioning crew, hereafter known as plank owners, are in formation and ready. Before the ceremony begins, I would like to call your attention to several events in the program. The first of these is the arrival of the official party. Honors will be rendered to the officials participating in the ceremony. As the first official arrives, guests are requested to stand with military guests coming to attention. When the band plays ruffles and flourishes, military personnel are required to render hand salutes. Guests are requested to remain standing until all officials have come aboard. Secondly, may I call your attention to the event of the setting of the first watch. Today we are honored to have Lieutenant Lloyd Gurnett, United States Navy retired, who was the last person to depart the first Samuel B. Roberts DE-413 before she sank, be the first crew member to officially board FFG 58, representing all the men of DE-413. Thirdly, when the national ensign is raised on the mast during the ceremony, we will be raising the ensign which was used during the decommissioning ceremonies of the second Samuel B. Roberts, DD-823. Lastly, when the crew is piped to quarters and the ship comes alive, guests are requested to focus their attention on the missile launcher forward, the ship's radars, the 76mm gun, the close-in weapon system after the gun. A description and location of these equipments have been provided for you as part of the commissioning program. The official party will be arriving shortly, and I will inform you of their titles as their cars arrive. Thank you. Mrs. Ivy Roberts is the ship's sponsor. Mr. and Mrs. Jack Usen, Mrs. Ruth Usen is the ship's matron of honor. '58. Mrs. Robert W. Copeland, wife of Rear Admiral Copeland, commanding officer of Samuel B. Roberts, DE-413, escorted by Captain Harry Seymour, commissioning commanding officer of USS Copeland, FFG 25. Supervisor of Shipbuilding, Conversion, and Repair, Bath, Maine. Ironworks Corporation. Commander, 2nd Fleet. Deputy Chief of Naval Operations for Surface Warfare. Supervisor of Shipbuilding, Conversion and Repair, Bath, Maine. Mr. William E. Haggett, Chief Executive and Chairman of the Board of Bath Iron Works Corporation. Captain Paul P. Aquilino, United States Navy, Commander, Naval Surface Group 4. Vice Admiral Henry C. Mustin, United States Navy, Commander, 2nd Fleet. Commander Paul X. Rinn, United States Navy, Prospective Commanding Officer Samuel B. Roberts, FFG 58. Commander J. William Hines, Chaplain Corps, United States Navy. Captain Aquilino, request permission to proceed with the ceremonies. Aye, sir. Will the guests please rise for the invocation?
In the scriptures we read, they sailed the sea in ships, trading on the deep waters. These saw the works of the Lord and his wonders in the abyss. We are here this morning, mindful of those who sail the sea in ships, and we know God's presence in our midst. So let us pray. Eternal Father, as sailors, we see your wonders all about us, and we are very grateful. On this 12th day of April, we have the privilege of presenting to you, for your fatherly care and your protection, the Samuel B. Roberts, FFG 58. Our prayer is that you will remain ever on watch over her, whether in home port or deployed around the globe. May our officers and crew be gifted with the valor and devotion to duty recognized in the life of Coxswain Samuel Booker Roberts, Jr. Grant no higher honor than that of defending peace around the globe to be the life of this ship and her crew. We pray that her commanding officer's faith in you may be strong, his confidence in himself firm, and his care for his men constant. Amen.
Will the guests please be seated? Captain Rader will make the opening remarks.
Good morning, Admiral Metcalf, Admiral Mustin, Mrs. Roberts, many special guests, the Samuel B. Roberts survivors, ladies and gentlemen, and especially Commander Wren and the officers and the men of the Samuel B. Roberts. Today is the official beginning of the frigate Samuel B. Roberts. This is a very special day in the life of the ship. The commissioning crew will now be taking a ship which is composed of cold steel, machinery, electronics, combat systems, and breathing life into the ship. And they will make it a fighting ship of the United States Navy. The Samuel B. Roberts personality and reputation will be established by you, the pre-commissioning crew for Samuel B. Roberts. The Navy's technical community, the Naval Sea Systems Command, Bath Iron Works, have done a fine job in designing and building Samuel B. Roberts. The testing and trials have been completed. Admiral Bulkley, the President of the Board of Inspection and Survey, had high praise for the state of completion of this ship. The responsible personnel of the Naval Sea Systems Command, Soup Ship Bath, and Bath Iron Works can take pride in this ship. The pre-commissioning crew has been a dynamic and a positive influence in the final stages of finishing this ship. This, the 23rd BIW-built frigate, will be the last ship for the Soup Ship Project Officer, Commander Sponholz. He is leading us to work on the Arleigh Burke DDG-51 program in Washington. This is also the last ship for the BIW FFG program manager, Mr. Abbott Fletcher. These gentlemen can take pride in their part in delivering frigates ahead of schedule and under cost. The tests and trials have demonstrated that this ship is ready to enter the fleet. I charge each Samuel B. Roberts crew member to take pride in this fine ship and make it the best frigate in the United States Navy. There is no better tribute to the namesake of Samuel B. Roberts. It is now my privilege to introduce Mr. Bill Haggett, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Bath Iron Works, the builder of this fine ship. Mr. Haggett.
Thank you very much, Captain Rader. Mrs. Roberts, Mrs. Hewson, Mrs. Wren, Admiral Mustin, Admiral Metcalf, distinguished guest on the launching platform. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to Bath Iron Works and the state of Maine for this memorable occasion which you're about to observe. Just in case you think we have mess the weather up a little bit. The sun is not scheduled to shine until Admiral Mustin speaks and the crew comes on board the ship. So we're on schedule. You can take comfort in that. Commissioning is a very high point in the early life of a ship. And Bath Iron Works has gone through many commissionings down through the years. As Captain Rader said earlier, 23 in the guided missile frigate program. But today's commissioning is unusual. It's more than that. It's really a gathering of old heroes from the early Samuel B. Roberts, the survivors of that great fighting ship, new heroes who have served our nation recently with great distinction, new heroes coming on this ship today to assume full responsibility. It's a gathering of admirals and a gathering of enlisted men, family of the Samuel B. Roberts, friends of the survivors, friends of the family, shipbuilders from Bath Iron Works, suppliers of components to this ship, a true gathering of people with an abiding interest in the Samuel B. Roberts. I'm going to speak briefly today, and that piece of the gathering that I'd like to address is the new crew of Samuel B. Roberts. I would just point out to you that it takes years to build a ship such as you've assumed responsibility for and are assuming responsibility for today. This ship cost the taxpayers of the United States about $350 million. It's a costly vessel. There has been tremendous Navy involvement in the design of this ship since the early 1970s, from the role of the supervisor of shipbuilding and the Naval Sea Systems Command down through the years, and most particularly as this ship has been built. Their participation has made a great contribution to the final product you see today. Suppliers of components, steel, pipe, fittings, fasteners from all over the United States, virtually every state, have contributed to this construction project. What Bath Iron Works does is simply put it all together, test it, activate it, make it work, demonstrate and prove that it's a product that reflects well on the thousands of skilled people here who I am so honored to represent today. It's the best built and the most complete ship that Bath Iron Works has produced in this program. It is truly an excellent ship, and as Captain Rader said, that's been well demonstrated on sea trials. This ship is fully capable of being the best guided missile frigate in the free world if you, the officers and men of Samuel B. Roberts, do your job well. You can trust this ship. This ship is well built. We've built it to the best of our ability. And speaking for Bath Iron Works, that means that the quality that's reflected here is the best that any shipyard is capable of producing in the world. We built this ship to withstand tremendous forces at sea, and we built this ship to go into conflict if necessary and to survive. This ship will work well. You can trust this ship, and you can trust that this ship will bring you home. It's a fighting ship, and it's designed to serve in combat, and it's designed to function well with a variety of threats. Our prayer at Bath is that you use this ship well, you make it the best and most capable ship that it can be, so that indeed it can be an instrument of peace. And we pray that you are so good in terms of the way that you operate this ship that it will serve as a real deterrent to war, which of course is our ultimate objective. We at Bath Iron Works are truly proud of the job that we've done building the ship. We're also very impressed by you as a crew. You've joined our shipyard over the past few months. You've moved into your new responsibilities very well. Clearly have great ability, motivation, fine attitude, and we know that you will accomplish and meet those high standards that I've described earlier. We wish you smooth sailing and following seas for many years. God bless you, and thank you.
remarks and read the commissioning directive to place Samuel B. Roberts in commission.
Admiral Metcalf, Admiral Mustin, Admiral Corrigan, Admiral Chadwick, distinguished guests, and crew of the Samuel B. Roberts. On behalf of Vice Admiral Macaulay, I wish to take this opportunity to welcome the USS Samuel B. Roberts as the newest member of the United States Atlantic Fleet and Naval Surface Group 4. As has been said before, this ship represents the latest in modern technology and demonstrates what our nation can produce. The energies of so many were devoted to building this vessel, but the work has just begun. It is now the job of this crew to give this ship life. The crew standing here today will give the Samuel B. Roberts her personality and reputation. You, the crew of the Samuel B. Roberts, are challenged to make that reputation one of unparalleled achievement. We at Surface Group 4 stand ready to assist you in any way possible and welcome you to our Newport community. And without further ado, let's make it happen. From the Chief of Naval Operations to Naval Sea Systems Command. In accordance with Naval Operations instructions, when Samuel B. Roberts, FFG 58, is in all respects ready, on or about 12 April 1986, place the ship in commission and direct the commanding officer to report by message to Commander Naval Surface Group 4 for administrative purposes and to Commander Naval Surface Forces U.S. Atlantic Fleet for operational control. In accordance with this message, I placed Samuel B. Roberts, FFG 58, in commission.
Signalmen, break the commissioning pennant. Will the guests please rise? Color guard, parade the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem. Color guard, post the colors. Will the guests please be seated? Ladies and gentlemen, Commander Paul X. Rinn, United States Navy.
I shall read my orders. UPER's orders number 2154 06704 9329. From the Chief of Naval Personnel to Commander Paul X. Rinn, United States Navy. When directed by reporting senior, detach and proceed from duties as Chief Staff Officer, Destroyer Squadron 36, and conduct temporary additional duties as directed. When temporary duties are complete, proceed to Bath, Maine, and report for duty to Commander Naval Surface Forces, U.S. Atlantic Fleet, and Commander Naval Surface Forces 4, as Commanding Officer, United States Ship Samuel B. Roberts, FFG 58, when placed in commission. Commodore Aquilino, I assume command of Samuel B. Roberts, FFG 58. Executive Officer, set the watch.
Aye, aye, Captain. Bosun mate, fight the watch. Captain, the watch is set.
Very well, Executive Officer. Executive Officer, pipe the crew to quarters and bring the ship to life.
Aye, aye, Captain. Bosun mate, pipe the crew to quarters. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark 13 guided missile launch system located on the boat dual-purpose launcher capable of firing SM-1 medium-range missiles at incoming hostile aircraft and missiles. The launcher is also capable of firing the long-range surface harpoon missile to combat hostile surface ships. In the dome, located above the pilot house, is the Mark 92 combined antenna system, which is an air and surface search radar, as well as an air tracking radar. Continuing aft is the AN/SBS 49 long-range, two-dimensional air search antenna, capable of detecting air contacts well beyond the horizon. Located high atop the main mast is the AN/SBS 55 surface search radar, used to detect surface contacts well beyond the horizon. Located aft of the main mast is the Mark 92 separate track and illuminating radar, used in conjunction with the missile launcher to track long-range air targets. On the main deck, Roberts is equipped with two triple Mark 32 torpedo tubes, which shoot the Mark 46 torpedo for anti-submarine protection. The ship's gun is a Mark 75 76mm auto-Malera gun, capable of firing the 76mm round at a rate of 80 rounds per minute at a range of over 5 miles against hostile air and surface contact. The Roberts stack is the exhaust trunk for the two LM2500 marine gas turbine engines, which provide the propulsion for the ship. The engines are rated at 20,000 shaft horsepower and are capable of sustaining speeds over 30 knots. Aft of the gun mount is the close-in weapon system, the Vulcan Phalanx, capable of firing 3,000 rounds per minute. Roberts is designed to carry two light airborne multi-purpose Mark III anti-surface and anti-submarine helicopters, which augment the ship's sensor capabilities in localizing long-range surface and subsurface contacts. They also carry Mark 46 torpedoes and can operate in virtually any sea state using the unique hull-down system, which locks them to the pitching deck. Captain, the ship is manned at quarters.
Very well, Executive Officer. Commodore Aquilino, the United States ship Samuel B. Roberts is ready for duty. Admiral Mustin, request permission to break your flag, sir. You can saw, Exo.
Aye, aye, Captain. Will the guests please rise? Signalman, break the flag of Commander, 2nd Fleet. the guests please be seated? Ship's company, parade, rest. Commodore Aquilino will introduce the guest speaker.
This is indeed an honor. Although our guest speaker needs no introduction to the surface warfare community because he is a true surface warrior. Our principal speaker, Vice Admiral Henry C. Mustin, was born in Bremerton, Washington, the son of Vice Admiral and Mrs. Lloyd M. Mustin. He graduated from the United States Naval Academy in June 1955. He served at sea in both the Atlantic and Pacific fleets, in USS Duncan, USS Bunning, USS Lawrence, USS Coyningham. As commanding officer, USS Henry B. Wilson, DDG-7. As commander, Destroyer Squadron 12, home ported in Athens, Greece. And as commander, Cruiser Destroyer Group 2. He's also, unfortunately, had to serve ashore, as we all do. He served as Flag Secretary to Commander Naval Forces Vietnam and with the Delta River Patrol Group, as Aide and Flag Lieutenant to Commander-in-Chief Pacific, Executive Assistant to the Commander-in-Chief U.S. Naval Forces Europe, Deputy Commander Naval Force U.S. Atlantic Fleet, and service as the Inspector General. During his career, Vice Admiral Mustin has served on 2 commissioning crews, and I'm sure he can tell the crew of the Roberts the demands placed on these crews. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Commander of the United States Second Fleet, Vice Admiral Henry C. Mustin.
Good morning. Anywhere else except at Bath Iron Works, it would surprise you when the sun appears precisely on cue, as Bill Haggett promised. Admiral Metcalf, fellow flag officers, Canadian and U.S., particularly grand to see the Canadian allies here. Mr. Haggett, Mr. and Mrs. Roberts, Mrs. Copeland, Sisters of Gunner Carr, Captain Wren, crew of Samuel B. Roberts, past and present, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. We're here today, as you saw, to commission a ship of the line of the United States Navy. To the Navy Corporation, that involves feelings not unlike those we feel personally when our own children are born, or to those of us who've reached a stage in life like Admiral Metcalf and me, our grandchildren. The first crew of a ship is called plank owners because in the days of sail they actually owned pieces of the planks. So the thoughts of this crew today, the plank owners of Samuel B. Roberts, are properly with the future of this great ship, which, the Lord willing, will sail the oceans of the world into the 21st century. I want to talk a little bit about the past. 2 themes have been in my mind since the Secretary of the Navy and Captain Wren honored me by asking me to be here today. First has to do with the Bath Iron Works tradition of shipbuilding excellence. When I was a junior officer, you could go below decks and identify a Bath-built ship without ever seeing the ship's nameplate. That was easy to do because the steam lines ran straight and true. The machinery was installed and laid out so that it was accessible, done with the maintenance requirements of a mariner at sea in mind. The cable runs were taut properly tagged. In general, you could see the unmistakable hallmark of proud craftsmen in abundance throughout the ships. I used to do this often. I'd go below, look around, make a bet whether or not the ship was built in Bath, and I was never wrong. You can see then and now the Bath touch in all the details of ship construction. In this modern age of plastics, where sometimes pride and craftsmanship seem a little bit behind the times, Bath Iron Works stands as a shining example of the good old days of ship construction. Nobody appreciates that more than those of us who sail these Bath-built ships over the oceans of the world. We look forward to the Aegis cruisers, Bath, Arleigh Burke destroyer. Second theme that's been running through my mind has to do with the name. Samuel B. Roberts. In the Navy's Hall of Heroes, no name shines more brightly than that one. Sam Roberts is one of the Navy's legends. His personal heroism in sacrificing himself for his shipmates has been recognized by a grateful nation in the form of the posthumous award of the Navy Cross and in 2 ships previously named for it. Sam's brother, Jack Roberts, is here today to see the 3rd ship to bear his brother's name put into commission. Jack Roberts served in the 1st Samuel B. Roberts, DE 413. And here with him are over 30 of the survivors of that gallant little ship. It was sunk at the Battle of Leyte Gulf in 1944. I want to return to that action in a few minutes because as far as I'm concerned, that ship stands as the example of destroyer and frigate actions for all time. And her sternlight ought to serve as a beacon for this present ship's crew to steer by. Right now, I just want to ask you to take a look at this magnificent ship for a minute. She makes me feel like I've come home. She may be called a frigate these days. We used to call them destroyer escorts. But to me, she's a tin can. I've served in these tin cans for 30 years. Started off as a junior officer with a teenage bride. A destroyer half the size of this one. This would look like a toy if it were moored alongside today. And I've thought a lot over the years about what it means to be a tin can sailor. I used to think about this in the South Pacific. I'd come topside during the mid-watch to see the Southern Cross because it was so hot below you couldn't touch the handrails in the fire rooms without burning your hands. And I used to think about it in the North Atlantic in winter when it was so cold and blue water coming over the bow, froze when it hit the bridge. Over all these years in all those places, I finally decided that what it means to be a tin can sailor is to have the ability to get the job done. We in the destroyer force, all of us, past and present, we know that whatever the job is at sea, we can do it. We can do it faster and smarter and better than anybody else, no matter who he is. And it's a good thing for the United States of America that we can. Today, the importance of every single ship in the U.S. Navy is higher than any time prior to World War II. With a Navy half the size it was 15 years ago, we've got to worry about twice as much ocean. That basically is why we need the 600-ship Navy. While we're waiting for all of those 600 ships, we've got to make do with what we've got. What you see is what you get. This means the officers and men of today's Navy have to be the best technicians and tacticians in the world. You can trace the influence of new weapons on tactics through history, and you can see the lessons written in the blood of the people who failed to realize what was going on. In the Civil War, the introduction of the repeating rifle changed infantry tactics forever. A lot of good Confederate foot soldiers died because they failed to recognize that. When the war began in Europe in 1939, the Poles met Nazi tanks with their finest cavalry, which were just blown away. Senior officers in the armies and navies had failed to realize that technology had changed the nature of war. Cavalry officers had laughed at the notion that tanks made horses obsolete. Admirals laughed just as hard at the lunatic fringe who thought that battleships would be vulnerable to aircraft. And as the war went on, we got a lot of new stuff. Radar, sonar, nuclear weapons. When we won the war in 1945, we won it with technology that had not been invented when the war started. So the new tactics to employ this technology had to be invented on the fly, under fire, by the officers and men of the United States Navy. Today, in the fleet, sometimes under fire, the officers and men are wrestling with those same kinds of problems. I happen to think that the Tomahawk and Harpoon missiles will change surface warfare the same way the repeating rifle changed infantry tactics. Who knows if I'm right? I also happen to believe that the combination of towed arrays and the LAMPS 3 helicopter will fundamentally alter the whole business of surface ship anti-submarine warfare. And who knows if I'm right about that? How are the anti-air warfare systems of these new frigates going to operate in conjunction with the Aegis system of the cruisers and the Arleigh Burke destroyer? We need all those answers. You can see from history that the stakes involved with collecting them are pretty high. This ship and this crew are going to have to help us get those answers. Some of the weapons and sophisticated electronics equipments that this ship carries may very well lead to changes in tactics on the order of sail to steam or horse to tank. The problem is compounded these days because everything changes so fast. In my brief 30 years in the Navy, we brought in nuclear power, jet aircraft, guided missiles, electronic circuits you have to look under a microscope to see, lots of other Star Wars stuff. We got airplanes in the fleet today that can fly faster straight up than they could fly straight down when I was an ensign. In point of fact, naval warfare has changed more in the last 15 years than it did in the previous 15 centuries. And you can see from events off Libya and the Gulf of Sirte recently, modern warfare is pretty sophisticated and deadly business. We're outnumbered today by the Soviet Navy just about 3 to 1. But we've been outnumbered before in the U.S. Navy, but we've never been outfought. I want to tell you a story about that first small destroyer escort named for Samuel B. Roberts. It's a story about another generation of tin can sailors, some of whom honor us by their presence today, who might have been short on numbers and tonnage, but they were pretty long on the qualities of skill, bravery, and determination, the qualities that have characterized the sailors of the United States Navy for over 200 years. The men who are with us today from that first Samuel B. Roberts lived through the action that I'm going to briefly describe for you. I want to make sure you all understand that I feel pretty humble talking about it in their presence. In October 1944, General MacArthur was invading the Philippines. A major landing was occurring at Leyte. The Japanese decoyed Admiral Halsey's aircraft carriers and battleships away from the main landing area, which they were supposed to protect. Then the Japanese sent a major surface force to attack that landing area. The residual U.S. Navy force was led by Rear Admiral Clifton Sprague. It consisted of 6 very small jeep carriers, 3 destroyers, 4 destroyer escorts, one of which was Samuel B. Roberts. The Japanese had 4 battleships, 7 cruisers, and 11 destroyers. For those of you from the Bath area, it was Bowdoin College versus the Chicago Bears. The Japanese attacked at dawn. Almost immediately, 14, 16, and 18-inch shells began to bracket Admiral Sprague's carriers. He needed to divert that fire. So he said, "Small boys, attack." They made smoke, dodged in and out of rain showers, they chased flashes. The destroyers closed on the battleships and launched torpedoes. Then those destroyers and those destroyer escorts closed and engaged battleships and cruisers with guns at close range. They steamed those little ships into the valley of death. Samuel B. Roberts fired 608 rounds of 5-inch before she was sunk. There's no naval action of any nation in any recorded history that's more heroic than the battle fought by those U.S. Navy small boys against the heavyweights of the Japanese Navy. They were midgets against giants, unarmored tin cans against capital ships with coats of steel armor, 5-inch guns against 16 and 18 inches. You know, a 5-inch shell weighs just about 50 pounds and can be handled by one man. A 16-inch shell weighs about as much as a compact car. I want to read you an excerpt from Samuel B. Roberts' action report because to me it says everything there is to say about being a destroyer sailor. I'll quote here. After all power, air, and communications had been lost, and before the word to abandon ship was passed, the crew of number 2 gun, who as a crew distinguished themselves throughout the entire action, loaded, rammed, and fired 6 charges entirely by hand and with a certain knowledge of the hazards involved due to the failure of the gas ejection system caused by the air supply having been entirely lost. While attempting to fire the 7th round, Powder charge cooked off before the breech closed, wrecking the gun and killing or wounding all but 3 crew members, who were critically injured, and 2 of whom were blown clear of the mount and the ship as a result of the explosion. The first man to enter the mount after the explosion found the gun captain, gunner's mate Carr, on the deck of the mount, holding in his hands the last projectile available to his gun, even though he was severely wounded from the neck down to the middle of his thigh. He was completely torn open. Nevertheless, he held in his hand the 54-pound projectile, held it over his head, begged the petty officer who had entered the mount to help him get that last round out. You must appreciate that the breech of the gun had been blown into an unrecognizable mass of steel. The mount itself was torn to pieces. He was the only man capable of physical movement within the mount, and yet his only idea was to get out that last round. The petty officer who entered the mount took the projectile from Carr and removed one of the other men who was wounded and unconscious to the main deck in order to render him first aid. When he returned to the mount, there was gunner's mate Carr again with the projectile in his hands, still attempting, although horribly wounded, to place the projectile on the loading tray and thereby utilize his last chance to do damage to the Japanese, unquote. That heroism paid off. Samuel B. Roberts and those other destroyers got the job done. Somewhere today, somewhere in the world on the oceans, another Navy crew is getting the job done. And they'll continue to do so as long as we have a Navy. The Japanese admiral withdrew without attacking the landing zone and departed the area. One of the decisive battles of the war in the Pacific was over. Destroyers had turned the tide. They had won over impossible odds. That one small ship, just about half the size of this one, had played an immortal role in the largest naval battle in history. There's a land battle that's a rather close analogy to that charge of the Samuel B. Roberts. It's the defense of the Alamo. When you think about that battle, 3 names come to mind: Travis, Crockett, and Bowie. With the commissioning of Samuel B. Roberts today, the 3 names and her gallant action in the battle off Samar are at sea together once more. Roberts, Copeland, and Carr. All of you in the audience ought to understand that these fine-looking sailors you see before you today are just like Samuel B. Roberts himself, just like Gunner Carr. They're tin-can sailors. Fleet Admiral Nimitz once summed that all up, and I'll quote again: "All the tools the Navy will employ to control the seas in any future war, the most useful of the small type of combatant ships, the destroyer, will always be there. Its appearance may be altered, and it may even be called by another name, but no type, not even the carrier or the submarine, has such an assured place in future navies," unquote. So Captain Wren, as you sailors and this fine crew take this great ship down to the sea to operate in waters and times far distant from here today, keep in mind that it's your turn in the barrel now. You're the ones who have to stand tall and be ready to win over impossible odds. Your country's survival is what's at stake, because the Navy is the country's front line of defense. Today, the officers and men of Samuel B. Roberts, you take your place in that long blue line. Keep your heritage in mind. Those who've sailed in the Samuel B. Roberts of yesteryear and Sam himself have set a course for you. Steer in their wakes. No ship in the United States Navy bears a prouder name. You should honor it by your actions. And may God bless this ship and all who will ever serve it. Thank you very much.
Commander Paul X. Wren, United States Navy, Commanding Officer, United States Ship Samuel B. Roberts, FFG 58.
Admiral Metcalf, Admiral Mustin, Admiral Corrigan, Admiral Chadwick, Admiral Harwood, Commodore McGilvery. Today is a great day for Samuel B. Roberts as we introduce the newest and most sophisticated frigate to a Navy with a great history of great frigates. I would like to digress for just a few moments because today is a day that we need to recognize two groups of people before we start on, and I will be brief. First of all, today is a day for professionals and men who go to sea in ships. And I am very grateful that my old shipmates from Canada have come here today and honored me with their presence. They are professionals, they are allies, and they are brave and strong allies that will go to sea and fight with us when the time comes. Secondly, I could go no further than to recognize a special group of people that honor us with their presence today. And they are our wives and our families. They have stood by us during the long months that we have built this ship. They have been patient, they have been loyal, they have been strong, and they have been loving. And I would like to thank them today for all of us aboard Samuel B. Roberts from the bottom of our hearts. Great things come from great traditions, and I would like to introduce the members of this great tradition to each other. Would the officers and crew members of Samuel B. Roberts DE 413 please stand? I would also like to ask, gentlemen, please stand. You're not off the hook yet. I would also like to ask the members of the crew of DD 823, Samuel B. Roberts, to join them and please stand. Gentlemen, we are honored today by your presence. You have been a guiding light for us. Men of Samuel B. Roberts, FFG 58, meet the men who have built the legend and created the tradition of naval excellence that is the trademark of our ship. Today, they are entrusting you to carry on in their footsteps and maintain the standards that they have set. We must not falter from our task. We must not shy from our responsibilities. For these men shall know wherever we go in the world. We thank them. We salute them. Thank you, gentlemen. Men of Roberts, we accept the torch that you have passed to us today. And we promise to uphold your name wherever we go on the oceans of the world and whatever we do. You are our inspiration. You are our spirit. You shall always be remembered. We shall never forget you. Now let me tell you about the officers and crew of Samuel B. Roberts FFG 58. John F. Kennedy once said, "The nations of the world will judge our Navy by its intensity, its dedication, its persistence, and its integrity. I can tell you today that there is no lack of these characteristics in the men of Samuel B. Roberts. They represent 42 states of the Union. They are proud of their country. They are proud of their Navy. They are proud of their ship. They trust their shipmates. But most importantly, they believe in themselves and what they do. And they know what they must do. They are dedicated men who represent their nation. And they represent a tradition that has lasted for 200 years and is one of the strongest traditions in the United States. They have traveled the U.S., training to take the ship to sea. And wherever they have gone, they have stood out as Roberts men, proud and optimistic. In fact, they represent the motto of a Canadian destroyer I once rode, HMCS Algonquin, for we fight as one. Admiral Mustin, Commodore Aquilino, we join the fleet with great pride and look forward to our assignments. We take seriously the public trust that we are the stewards of their tax dollars represented in FFG 58, and we pledge to do our utmost to uphold that trust. Finally, it would not be appropriate to end this ceremony without recognizing a very unique group of men and women. They worked through the chilling winters. They worked through the snow. At nights when I came to the ship and the snow was falling and the wind was blowing as much as 40 knots, they would be out welding on the side of the ship, and they would look at me and they will say, "Captain, we're going to make this right. In Bath, we know how to build ships." And in fact, ladies and gentlemen, they do. It is important for you to know that I fully believe that the workmen who work here in this shipyard and all of those around the country like them are indeed the spirit of America. They are our productivity. They are the people that build the ships. They are the people that make things happen. Without them, we don't have great, fine ships like Samuel B. Roberts. So from the bottom of my heart, and I think I speak for my crew members, we thank them for our ship and for everything that they have done for us. And in closing, I'd like to borrow a cliche from the advertising world, which we hear so frequently today on television. And it's addressed to these two select groups of people, to the survivors of Samuel B. Roberts, and to the men of 823, and to the men and women of Bath Iron Works. Ladies and gentlemen, this one's for you. Thank you very much.
Captain, I propose 3 cheers for the men and women who build our ship and for those of Samuel B. Roberts who have sailed before us.
Very well, Executive Officer. 3 cheers.
Aye, aye, Captain. Ship's company. Hut 10. Hut. 3 cheers for the men and women who build our ship and for those of Samuel B. Roberts who have sailed before us. Hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip. Hooray! Ladies and gentlemen, the plank owners of the United States ship Samuel B. Roberts, FFG 58. Ship's company, ready? 2. Will the guests please rise for the benediction?
Eternal Father, we are here to commission a marvel of human technology. We ask your blessing on this ship, the product of so many skilled hands and brilliant minds. Before us stand the officers and crew of the United States ship Samuel B. Roberts. Bless them and their families with your ever-present love. Bless the relatives to and the survivors of Samuel B. Roberts. May the destiny of this ship be always to uphold as no higher honor the defense of our homeland and the safety of our allies in the causes of freedom, justice, and peace for the dignity of all peoples. Amen.
Color guard, retreat the colors. Parade, rest. Ushers, please escort guests of the official party aboard.